viewer, my name is Gabriel and today we are talking about none other than Cress by Marissa Meyer, the third book in the Lunar Chronicles. I feel like I'm repeating myself here. I adored this book. And I know everyone said,
Cress is the best one. Cress is the best one. You have not read anything until you've read Cress. You have to get to Cress. Cress is the best one.
After I finished Scarlet, I had this at the back of my mind, but you don't really understand until you've actually finished the book. And I can honestly testify that yes, this is the best one so far. This is in fact the third book in a series, so this video will obviously contain spoilers for Cinder, Scarlet, and Cress. If you do not know what these books are about, which I highly doubt, the Lunar Chronicles are futuristic fairy tale retellings. In a dystopian world, we have Cinder, who is a cyborg mechanic, we have Scarlet, who is a French redhead, and we have Cress, who is a locked up teenager. Cinder retells Cinderella, Scarlet, Little Red Riding Hood, and Cress retells Rapunzel. If you're interested in my book chats for Cinder and for Scarlet, they are linked over here. I have to warn you though, Cinder was one of my first videos, so it's kind of I'm just going to jump right into the discussion because boy do I have a lot to say. First thing I want to point out is that we are literally 4 pages in and I'm already obsessing over Cress. Marissa Meyer told Cress's story so quickly and so expertly that we are immediately engulfed and attached to our main character, and I like it. In fact, I love it. Unlike Scarlet, I did not go into this expecting the Rapunzel fairy tale to be integrated into the storyline. Don't ask me why, because I have no idea. But for Scarlet, I knew that the story had to have some elements of Little Red Riding Hood. But when I went into Cress, I had completely forgotten that this was a fairy tale retelling. So when we find out that she is stuck in a satellite orbiting Earth, that's Rapunzel's tower. How cool is it that Marissa Meyer took Rapunzel's tower and made it into Cress's satellite?
Whoa.
That's so original. We get to chapter 2, which is obviously the first few pages, and we are back with the gang. And I am so excited Marissa Meyer decided to do this. In Scarlet, we get a few chapters of Miss Benoit's story before we go back and catch up to Cinder. But in Cress, we get thrown immediately back into Cinder, Thorn, Scarlet, and Wolf. Also Aiko. Again, I'm so excited for this. Our crew of main characters left off Scarlet in a very big question mark. I was very anxious to see how they were dealing with stuff and what they were going to do next. We're back with Cress in probably chapter 3 or 4, and she mentions that she has a huge crush on Thorn Carswell. That's when I'm immediately lost. As soon as she mentions her crush, I am shipping these two like crazy. It's not even funny. I mentioned that I really love Thorn as a character in Scarlet. I was not expecting to like Thorn as much as I did, and I knew he was going to play a big part in Cress, so I'm like, hell yeah. And when Cress says that she has a crush on Thorn, I go, no, I need these two together. I want them to be a thing. And honestly, I have no explanation as to why I want them together. I simply do. You don't reason with it. It's a matter of the heart. Shipping is your heart. You want these two together. It's a beautiful thing. I am seriously in love with the idea of them being a couple. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a while. The rest forever. It's also super adorable when Cress is video conferencing Cinder and her crew and they're talking. These few pages are hilarious because she is scared of talking to them. She is super nervous at being in front of Captain Thorn. How relatable is that? How relatable is fangirling over your celebrity crush? We also go back to Dr. Erland, which we haven't seen since Cinder ended. It's revealed that Dr. Erland was behind this wolf hybrid movement thing army. I thoroughly mentioned this fact throughout Scarlet's book chat, but you had to be expecting me to talk more about this. And that is how Marissa Meyer connects these stories. I did not see this coming. I knew Dr. Erland was a scientist and a doctor, but I did not see him as the mastermind behind Levana's army. And I was surprised to find this out. I was also even more amazed at Marissa Meyer's originality. I also ended up really liking Dr. Erland as a character, and I was not expecting this when I was reading Cinder. Dr. Erland is a very troubled person. He has helped Levana build these creatures. He has lost his daughter, which, you know, he hasn't really lost yet. Lunars and to Sybil. This race has destroyed this man's life, and I can't help but feel sorry for him. We get to the part where Cress is going to be rescued, and I immediately know something is going to go wrong. It's just like in a movie when there's such an unnecessary scene that you know something is going to happen. Something bad is going to happen. Sybil arrives, and I know that this is going to go wrong in more ways than one. So we have this very intense fight scene. Sybil tricks Cinder into thinking that Jason is actually Scarlet. I was expecting something like this to happen, but I was expecting Sybil to pretend to be Scarlet so she could infiltrate herself on the ship. I am glad that did not happen, but what did happen dismantled our team, and I'm like,
No, you mean Sybil. I don't like you, Sybil.
you ruined the plan. It turns out that what Sybil did wasn't really that hurtful, but at the time I was reading, I'm like,
You just ruined the whole thing.
I also feel very bad and very sorry for Cress. This girl has been literally living in a satellite alone but for a robot and a mistress who hates her for 7 years. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine yourself in that situation? Because I certainly can't. And when Cress's dreams of being rescued are crushed, so is my heart. I want to talk a little bit about Wolf. Wolf is a very loose end in Cress, and I hate that. In Scarlet, I found myself actually liking Wolf, but in Cress, he was honestly just an extra, you know? And that's very sad, because I feel like Wolf has a lot of potential as a character. It was unfortunately very hard to read that he was basically uncontrollable. We did find this out in Scarlet, but in Cress, it just goes so much deeper into this being controlled by your enemies, attacking your ally situation, and I don't like it. I really don't like it. I want to see Wolf fighting for Cinder, not for Cinder's enemies. Also, Scarlet missing really makes Wolf unstable. Wolf is isolated in this book. We barely get any scenes with him in it, and that's so sad. So the satellite crashes down, and Thorn and Cress survive, and they're alone, and oh my god, that's when I start shrieking. That's when I start fangirling. What better situation for your ship than being together in a desert and surviving and conversing and talking and getting to know each other? Isn't that the perfect situation? Yes, it is. So again, I absolutely love these two. I love their dialogue. I love their conversations. I absolutely love Cress's personality as she is getting to know the first person ever in 7 years. I also love the fact that it's her celebrity crush. I also love that Thorn is so arrogant and super comical and funny and actually accepting towards Cress. Carswell's cockiness and Cress's shyness and timidness makes for the best mixture ever. They are so adorable and so cute and every good thing in between. I also realized that this does tie in with the original Rapunzel fairy tale because the prince saves Rapunzel. I also like how Marissa Meyer put in there the use of her hair in her shoes, you know. I thought that was very well done. So just a basic recap. I am loving these two together. I absolutely love all of their journey throughout the desert. I think it connects them so much, and I love that they're getting to know each other and actually falling in love. Not so much Cress, because Cress is already in love with him, but Thorn is realizing what an amazing girl Cress is, and that melts my heart. We go back to Kai, and all I'm thinking is, Kai, you're a little dumb. I don't like to judge him, because if I was in his situation, I would 100% be like him. I would not put the pieces together and figure out that Cinder is Celine. But the thing is, for a reader, that's annoying. It's honestly kind of obvious. Lavanna is after this Lunar with claws and teeth and everything in her power. Kai is just like, well, why? Why would she be after her so fervently? Get a clue, Kai. Again, I'm not judging Kai. I wanted Kai to figure it out by himself, and unfortunately, that didn't happen. So Cress is kidnapped, and I am hating these people who help them. We see that one of the kidnappers talking to Thorn believes that he is in some kind of black market lunar trading thing system, and he offers 20,000 units for Cress. And we can understand from the book that Thorn is at the very least tempted to accept his offer. And I want to dwell on this for a moment. Thorn is not the best kind of person, but I love that he is changing for Cress. He is actually reflecting upon his person to see what he has to change for Cress. Throughout the novel, we see him become selfless and actually make Cress's dream come true and become a hero. How adorable is that? How can it be more adorable and romantic and heroic and fairy tale-esque than this? So again, Thorn is evolving as a character. Thorn is changing and realizing he has to adjust some things in his person to gain Cress's complete and utter admiration. Not that he hasn't yet, but now he feels like he has to change. We go back to Kai, and Kai makes what I believe is his first decision as an emperor, and I am loving. I am basically Kai's cheerleader in these few pages. In case you don't remember, Kai decides to end the cyborg draft. I am all for this. I am going to go into Kai as a leader. I am all for a good king, a good emperor, a good leader when it comes to leading a group of people, a nation, a country, a continent, whatever. It takes a lot to be a leader, and everyone should recognize that not everyone has the right qualifications for a leader. And in Kai's first order, Kai's first law thing that he does, you can see that he's going to make an amazing emperor. Quick side note here, crazy winter theory, I am expecting Cinder to marry Kai so that they can actually unify Luna and Earth, just like he wanted to do, but not with Lavana. They're going to unify the two nations, but with actual true love. How romantic and beautiful is that? I am so excited for this to happen because I believe this is going to happen. So when Cress gets to Dr. Erland's office, there is a sentence in this part that says, Dr. Erland looked with astonishment, awe at Cress, something like that, and I immediately know Cress is his daughter. Cress has to be his daughter.
Cress is Dr. Erland's daughter.
I have to close the book for a minute or two to actually reflect on how original this plotline is. Again, I have mentioned 10,000 times how I think these stories merge in so beautifully and originally and uniquely. I personally believe this is the most sentimental way that these stories tie together. The Odd by Marissa Meyer.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
We also get to Scarlet. In these Scarlet chapters, I either think one of two things. A, I either feel sorry for Scarlet, or B, I completely detest and despise these lunars. I'm pretty sure you remember that Scarlet is being basically a little kid's toy as he practices his lunar gift, and all I can think how loathsome these lunars are. We get a very brief thing where Eartherns detest lunars and Cinder, but we don't really know why, but now we know why. These lunars are not people. These lunars are no longer human beings. I simply can't stand these people and what they do to Eartherns, what they do to themselves. This is not a society. A place where people control everyone around them as easily as they move their fingers. That's not right. That's not the human way to do things. And obviously, they're not humans. The guard, Jason Clay, mentions that if everyone had this technology that Cinder has at the back of her neck, then the world would change. That statement made me stop for a while and notice how true it actually is. Because I am all for Cinder distributing free implants that disable the Lunar's gifts. I am 100% behind this decision. I would actually like for it to go further and for Luna to be completely decolonized. That these Lunars get the implants and some generations later, Luna is deserted and people are back on Earth. That's what I want to happen. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, obviously, but it's something that I would love for the Lunar Chronicles to end on. Another big thing that happens here is Aiko. And Aiko also goes through some changes in the second one. So Aiko gets a body. I have thoroughly mentioned that I detest robots, especially human-like robots. And when I find out that Aiko is going to be put into this human body, I have to think of something so I'm not disgusted by this character who I love. So you know what I do? I picture her as some kind of Pinocchio thing, where she's always a character, she's always a personality, but now she's an actual real girl. And I think this is so much better than her being a robot. Obviously later in that fight scene, Aiko is completely trashed, but I decided to ignore that. But this thing where she is an actual person, it makes me feel so much more relieved, because again, I don't like robots. Unless it's Wally or Eve, nuh-uh. I have loved Aiko since Cinder, which is something so surprising, but I loved her even more here. Her personality is gold, and I love the way that she interacts with other people. We get just before the wedding part.
And I'm literally so excited for this part.
Things are about to happen. Ish about to get real. I'm loving this vibe where Wolf and Cress are together, and then Cinder and Aiko, and Dr. Erland and Thorn. I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying this part. Until, obviously, we get to the part where Dr. Erland dies. I am completely speechless when this happens. I am not anticipating this at all. When it is revealed that he had a mutated version of the plague, I am completely and utterly speechless. I know that he is going to die in a few pages, that's why I'm so shocked. Before he dies though, he reveals that the plague is biological warfare, and I have to say I'm not completely surprised by it. We have seen, particularly in Cress, that lunars are cruel, and it honestly doesn't shock me that they would actually be able and be completely fine with basically killing millions of people on Earth. And that just sickens me to my stomach. They're no longer people. They are disgusting creatures that have developed and have changed on the moon. I can't deal. They are basically aliens. They are basically extraterrestrial intelligent life. And just before he died, confesses to Cress that he's her father. That part is so emotional. I am on the verge of crying, of actually spilling tears from this part, and that hasn't happened in Cinder or in Scarlet. Scarlet is completely surprised by this. She is not expecting it, and then Dr. Erlin just passes away, and just like that, she had her father for about 5 minutes, and then she has to say goodbye. This girl has suffered through so much, and I can't help but feel so sorry for Cress, even though she prevails and she comes out stronger than these circumstances. And I have to admit that Cress is my favorite, and actually by far from Cinder and Scarlet. Not only is she shy and quirky and awkward, but she is the one that has suffered most. I personally believe she is the one that has suffered most, and after suffering so much, she has still come out of it a very good, kind, amazing, lovable person and character. And I love Cress. I love her. I'm not saying Cinder and Scarlet didn't suffer, because Scarlet losing her grandmother, Cinder losing Peony, that was completely heartbreaking. We get to the fight scene on top of the building when they are done with the rescue mission. A whole lot of stuff happens, but what literally burns my memory is Thorn and Cress's kiss. Who did not melt in this part? Who did not completely shiver with fangirliness and adorableness and cuteness? Because, my god. Thorn literally says, "I guess it's time," and then he pulls her into a kiss. I don't really know what to say about this moment, because all I feel is that they're so adorable. Thorn acknowledges there's a high chance that this is their last moment together, and he swoops her in and kisses her. He promised that before she died, she would get a worthy kiss, and I love this. I love Thorn. I love Cress. I love them as a couple. I love this kiss. It's probably one of my favorite parts of the book. It's so romantic, and it's so heroic. Just the fact that Thorn kept his promise and actually remembered his promise is swoon-worthy, okay? So we are nearly at the end of the book, and we get a chapter with Winter and Scarlet talking, and this basically lights a fire inside me that screams for the book Winter. Winter is a person that is 100% lunar and hasn't used her gift for years on end. You know what that reveals about her? It reveals that she's a nice person. It reveals that there is actually some humanity left among the lunars. Can't wait to put the pieces together in Winter, because I'm so excited. We also know that she is not lucid, she hallucinates, and I really want to know how Winter is going to be the main character of the next book, because she is going to turn our brains upside down because she hallucinates. Maybe as a reader, we aren't going to know what's real and what's not, and I am anticipating this very much. So the time for Kai and Cinder's reunion comes along, and I have been waiting for this since Cinder's end. Every reader has been waiting for this. And oh my god, expectations were met. Expectations were actually exceeded. They don't deny the fact that they are in love, and there's no changing that. There's no going around that. They don't deny it and immediately rekindle. This is honestly so adorable. I love that. I love this little interaction Cinder and Kai have. And I'm also super stoked for seeing them as a team in Winter, because we haven't got any of that. In Cinder, we get to see them occasionally meet in the palace. We have not yet witnessed them working together. I'm stoked for this. So just like in the Scarlet book chat, the last thing I'm going to talk about is Levana, because if you're still with me, you know how I feel about this character. I am still super excited for Fairest. We get this part where Levana is alone in her room and she has two wedding bands. One that she has worn for most of her life, and one that she was supposed to wear when she married Kai. I immediately go, that's it. That's the bit of emotion and sentimentality that we are going to get in Fairest. That Levana has suffered because of love. I am super stoked. Regina Mills. I love Regina Mills because of her backstory, and she is evil because she suffered so much from love and what love did to her. And if it's the same for Levana, then wow, because I am going to fall in love with Levana, and I'm going to expect her to become good in Winter. I'm not sure if that's a good thing, because there's as high a chance as there isn't, that she turns into the good side. This little part where we get Levana, I feel is really important. This is what Ferris is going to be based off of. And I could not be more excited for this book. This book is actually on its way. So guys, what did you think of Cress? I want to know every single detail and opinion that you have on this book because I want to discuss it with you. I want to know about how you felt about Thorn and Cress, and about Levana, and about the wedding, and about the fight scene, about everything Cress related. Please leave a comment down below. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to see more book chats like these, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for my next videos, and remember to keep your day a bookish one. Goodbye! I am still fangirling over Cress. I can't deal with how adorable they are. I ship them harder than Emma and Captain Hook. You can actually go ahead and say I love them as much as I love Lilac and Tarver. And coming from me, that's a lot. You know that's a lot.